Get up here. Come on.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Fantaseries Book Club. We are discussing the 5th season today with our lovely hosts. I think we have one person missing who might be joining us later, which is Nicole from Bon Bon Reads. But we have 3 of the original hosts as well as one new additional host that we're going to be introducing today as well, Vish, who's here on the screen. So we're just discussing the first book in the Broken Earth trilogy. This is the 5th season that we all read. We've been doing a 2-month schedule, so it's not too late if you want to read along with us, but this is going to be a very spoilery discussion, so keep that in mind. But does anyone want to go around and introduce themselves, talk about their star rating, what they think of the book? Jess, you want to go first?
Sure.
That's a lot of things, first of all. It's a lot of things we got to say, okay?
Yeah, this is like an icebreaker.
Right, and then what did you also do over the summer? Just give me...
Well,
I'm gonna exit out. See you later.
This will be just a chat of me telling you what I did over the summer because everyone's left.
You've done everything. I can't believe that you went to South Carolina. I'm like, my mouth dropped when I saw that on Instagram. I was like, Hilton Head. What the?
I'm going to North Carolina in like a week.
Yeah, North Carolina doesn't mean anything to me.
I know. It's
we're literally like 10
away
minutes
from something
away from where I was. I was like, what?
I didn't know you were down there. I thought you were in Kelly.
Or maybe you had already left. I don't know. We were like there around the same time. So it was July 4th, right?
Yeah, it was right before July 4th though, because I left.
Okay, yeah.
I always post late. I post stuff from January like now.
There you go.
Post everything really late.
So it was like a week later.
Yeah.
But still, you know, we could be standing on the same soil.
It's possible. Only in New York. Only in LA. Only in major cities.
Also true. Hit it, Sherm. Yep.
Hit it, Sherm.
Lay down, buddy.
This thing's helping to like censor Sherman's butthole so we don't get
I feel bad when he does that. I'm like, Sherman, you don't even know that you're like on the like. Look at him.
I feel like he knows he's on the internet.
Yeah, he knows.
I don't know if he does because this is.
He arrived when we started this stream.
What?
He arrived when we started the stream.
I know, he's such an attention hoe. It's like literally he was asleep and then he heard you guys and he was like, let me just come over here and see what the girls are doing. Please, Sherman, please. You're too big for this.
Oh gosh.
Oh, he thinks he's a kitten. He is not. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead, Jess. Introduce yourself.
Hey, Jess.
Yes. My name is Jess. My channel is Books Past Bedtime. I rated the book, I think 2.5 stars, which is generous. And then
which is generous.
My favorite thing I did this summer was that I just saw Taylor Swift for the 2nd time this weekend.
Oh my god.
And she sang Picture to Burn, which is a song I've been manifesting since she started touring, and I was so fucking excited.
Oh my god, I'm so happy for you.
I'm glad your dreams came true. Yeah.
Hi, welcome, Jess. Thank you for the icebreaker.
Do you want me to go or do you? I guess I'll go. Whatever. I'm talking already. I'll do it. Hey guys, what's up? I'm Christine. Went off of the Ruby's Digest. What were the other things we had to say?
What did you think of the book?
And a summer memory.
Okay. I rated the book 5 stars.
Oh.
I know. It's crazy. It's
wow.
Crazy. I would
but
love
you didn't rate A Strange and Stubborn Endurance 5 stars? I see how it is.
4.5.
Also, I think I think you've rigged that game.
What do you mean?
I'm mad that I didn't win.
Oh my god. It was a good book.
We should have both got a point, honestly. We got the same rating.
I'm at the end of the year, I'm gonna rank them by the numbers so you'll know what place you are out of like whatever 36 books, I think.
Wow.
Did I do that math right? Yeah, okay.
Anyway, continue.
Yeah, I rated it 5 stars, but I did read it like a year and a half ago, so it has been some time. So it would be interesting if I had done a reread, but let me tell you, I didn't. So there you go. And my favorite thing of summer, I mean, so far I went to the beach for a week and just like unplugged and didn't do any work or anything. That I think is my favorite thing. But I've done a lot of fun stuff, you know. At the beginning of summer I went to New York. The end of summer I'm going to Michigan. Yeah. Those are two fun things.
Yeah.
Traveling.
Amazing.
Beautiful stuff.
Trying.
Oh, God. Please.
Also, feel free to share your favorite summer memories and your star ratings in the chat, people.
Also, hello. My name's Vish. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out this cat, what it's doing.
I think I can hear it meow.
Wait, is it winter where you are, Vish?
Yes, it is.
Share your
So
favorite winter memory.
favorite winter memory. It's freaking cold today, which I love. Okay, wait. Hi, I'm Vish from Books with B. And I gave the book 3.5 stars. That was like after I read it a couple of days, let it marinate, and I was like, okay, this is a good book, objectively. But I wasn't a fan of the writing style because I've read her other books and I didn't like them. So it's a good book, but it was fine. And my favorite winter memory, God, just when it rains. It's great. I've just been going out exploring this new city. It's been great.
I know. I'm like, how is it?
It's really nice. It's God, please, cat. What are you doing? Okay. It's been really nice. There's a lot of people in the city. There's a lot to do. There's a lot of good food, which I love. And yeah, it's been great. I'm basically just waiting until I start my new job. Yeah, that's my
It's a lot of fun.
memory.
I guess I'll go again. I'm Rachel, from Let Me in the Library. I rated the book, I think something like 4.5 stars for me. I actually really did like the writing style, and I really didn't like other N.K. Jemisin books that I read, or the other N.K. Jemisin book that I read, which was a very different writing style. So I was very pleasantly surprised that I actually liked this one a lot, like way, way, way more than the other one that I had read. So that was a pleasant surprise, and I think contributed a lot to my rating. We'll talk more about writing and other things soon. My favorite summer memory. I don't know. Mine was probably also chilling on a beach, and I'm gonna feel really bad if it was the same exact week that Christine was also chilling on a Hilton Head beach, just like a mile away from me or something.
No, it wasn't the same week. There's no way.
No. I was there like June. I don't know, like super late June until June 29th, I think.
Oh yeah, no. I was there week of July 4th.
Oh, okay. So we just missed each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was like my first super relaxing vacation of like absolutely zero stress ever, like of my life, where I was like, I've never like de-stressed so much because I've been like, it was like a very nice beach trip of just being like 1 minute from the beach, and other people went and like set up all the chairs and stuff, and then we just left it there, had breakfast in the morning. You could walk down to the beach whenever you wanted to. You could opt not to go to the beach and just chill back at the big house that we were renting. So it was like supreme vibe, supreme just hanging out. First chill pill I've ever taken, and if you know me, that's a big deal. Never had one before. Big deal. A lot of fun. Would do again. Maybe next year.
Yeah, it was like the beach trips like that are awesome. That's why I love my family one, because it's exactly like that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, something's going on outside. Let me just mute myself really quick.
Oh, you're good. I'm gonna check in on some comments before we keep going. Cool Gamer, hello. I'm not gonna stay because spoilers, but I want to stop in and show support for all these gorgeous ladies. Oh, hello. Well, thank you so much. Hello, Tammy.
Tammy.
I also know this is one of Tammy's favorite books too, so this is a good one.
Taste.
Sherman hamming it up, and now a ginger tail invading Vish's. Sherman popped up the second I said his name, and he went whoop in the corner.
I'm telling you, he's like, I don't know he like knows things.
Oh,
I don't know
baby.
how. He's about to fall asleep.
I give it 4 stars. It's one of my favorite books of all time. It's going to be a 5 stars for me. I think it was a 5-star for me. Kept me hooked, and I have the next book ready.
Nice.
Hello, rated at 4 stars. Favorite summer memory? IDK saw the Mario movie with my boyfriend, so that was fun. That is a fun one. Good Peaches song. Good stuff. Cool. Well, I think we can get into a quick summary of the book. We won't do spoilers quite yet. We'll just talk about like what this book generally is in different ways. Jess, do you want to lead this since I know you helped to write a document about this?
No, not really. I feel like I still don't know what happened in the book, so I really feel like usually I'd be all over it, but today I think someone else should take the reins.
Okay. I mean, in
I'm
general, in the super like general summary way, it's a book about the end of the world and these catastrophes that lead to these sort of apocalypses, which happen many years in between. So something like 200, 400 years or something might separate an apocalypse from happening, but it drastically changes everyone's lives. And an apocalypse isn't really like the end of the world, it's just a huge, drastic shift of the world. So this book centers around this 5th season, this sort of 5th apocalypse that's occurred, where a lot of the world has just broken apart, and it follows several different perspectives, which are written in different ways. I think that's one of the biggest things that's really different about this book. So the different perspectives that we're following are for Essen, Demaya, Cyanite. I think that's it, because it's Cyanite and Alabasters together, Demaya and Essen. So during the story, we meet a few other different characters along each of the women's journeys. Most of this is triggered by Essen's journey to leave the part of the country that was affected by the 5th season, because she has sort of these magical powers, which are part of the reason that these sort of events could occur, where she can affect things that are happening out in relation to the world. So she's worried about getting discovered in that way. So she sets off on this journey, and she also is setting off for revenge for her child who was murdered by her husband. I think that's the just barely scratching the surface of spoilers, trying to be like as spoiler free as possible sort of summary about the book that there is. I think. Did I miss anything?
No, you didn't.
Too many spoilers? All right, cool. Let's start writing wise, maybe, if we want to talk a little bit about that. We don't want to get too like heavy in all of the plot twists yet, but I think at this point we might be getting into some spoilery territory if we need to. So I think one of the biggest points with this book is the whole second perspective. So Essen's perspective is entirely written in second person. So everything is you do this, you do that, but really it's talking about Essen. So, you as this person have met with this thing, you've decided to leave, you are going on this journey, and that's the entire perspective. But personally, for me, I felt like over time it was sort of easy to just adjust to that writing style and understand what was being said without any kind of like cognitive dissonance for it. Because as soon as it started up again, I was like, okay, I get it. We're in Essence perspective. And I feel like that's a very interesting way to make the shift, because I know other multiple POV books can be really difficult to tell whose brain are we in right now or whose story are we in right now without being very heavy-handed about it. So I thought this was a pretty interesting way to make that distinction, but I also think that there is a sort of like plot reason for it as well, or like a character reason for it as well, for why Essence is in second person but the other characters are not.
Yeah, I feel like for the second person POV, like Jemison was trying to make the reader feel like they were in Asen's shoes and like insert themselves into the story and how they would react and things like that. But for me, I felt like it kept me at a distance from what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't necessarily that I don't know. it just, whenever something is written in a different POV, I find myself feeling disconnected from the characters and what's happening. I agree with you that it did make it easier to like understand who was talking, but I don't think that I would have had that issue with this book anyway, just because I felt like Jemison's writing was good enough and the characters were distinct enough. I don't know. I am not really here for the second person POV personally.
Christine?
Yeah, I mean, I think like I didn't really mind it that much. This was probably the first full-length novel that I've ever read that had that perspective. And obviously at the time when it came out, it was pretty groundbreaking. It's like one of the things about this book that I think ended up giving it the awards that it has. But I think for me, when using like the you perspective, it put it more into real time as far as the timeline of the book. And I remember as I was reading this, I was like, what is the thing? Like, why are all these stories being told at the same time? How do they connect? That kind of thing. So when I was reading it, I was trying to figure out, because of the language and kind of like why would she use second person? That's what I kept asking. I was like, why would she use second person? And so the only thing I could think of was kind of like when when you experience third or second everything in that moment. So you are walking, you see this, you take this off the shelf. Like it's very like happening right now. Whereas sometimes I think in first person it can be like you walked. You know what I mean? It's almost like it's like in past tense, a lot of the verbs and like actions and things. So for me, when I was reading those chapters, I was like, I feel like whatever this timeline is or whoever's story this is, I feel like this is like a really important one, if that makes sense. So I really enjoyed it because it was like leading clues to everything else that I was reading. And of course I was annotating this too. So I was just like marking it up. I was like map drawing, red lines everywhere, like what's going on. But yeah, once I kind of got into it, it didn't really bother me that much. And I ended up enjoying it. So I really liked it. I think since then I've read a couple of things that are second person, and I really enjoy it because I think before that the concept of second person was just like ew. I was like, oh, I don't know, but now I kind of like it. So
I also agree with that, what you're saying, where like Essen's perspective seemed like maybe it was more important or something because it was so distinct. Like the other ones were third person, like I guess third person omniscient, so you could hear like, you know, here are the things that happened. Demaya did this, then like, you know, here are the things that happened already. And it was the second person occurring in the present, but it also just felt like this is the different one. Why is this one different? And in
right.
the end, like, you know, seeing like, oh, this is, you know, the present moment, everything else happened before. And now we're kind of like leading up to this as it's occurring, like in this present moment does make sense as well. I also think there's also some level of like the character's journey and like trauma that she's experienced with like losing her son and many other like events that happen in the book, where it's also almost like a dissociative kind of thing, where it kind of feels like, you know, you do these things and it's almost like, you know, instructions in a way where it's like, here are the things that like you have to do this. You know that you have to get up for the day. You know you have to just keep moving. Don't think about what happened. Just keep going. And that's sort of the way that it kind of translated for me, as well as a few other points. But I'll wait to bring those up because I also want to give Vish a chance to talk too.
For me, at first I thought it was really interesting, like you said, because it's a different writing style and it's for a specific character that it indicated, okay, this now it's this character's moment. But after a while it became, I'll say tedious because like you said, it's telling you what to do, telling you what to feel. And for me, it's just like I don't want that. I want to interpret my own feelings of what's happening instead of the author telling me how to feel and what to do. And like you said, it was like, oh, you did this and then you did that and then you did that. So it's just that repetitiveness of like telling you those short sentences of like doing this, doing this, doing this. It's like it was getting old for me after a while. And so I did find it distracting. after a while. And just in general, I didn't connect to her writing style in general. And it's a shame because it was a good book because it was a smart book of how everything connected, but I just didn't vibe with the writing style and therefore the characters as well.
Yeah, I think it's definitely bird's eye view.
Yeah.
Everything is very bird's eye view instead of being like right there with the characters, like, you know, as they're going through things.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think the reason why, one of the reasons why I rated this so high is because the plot really got me. Like, and I knew it was coming, and it still got me. I was like, okay, because like going through all my notes and stuff, it's just amazing. So, but yeah, if you're not vibing with the writing style, it would probably bother me too.
Yeah, I feel like that's why I rated it what I did, because I gave it 2.5 stars. My enjoyment level was like a 1, but because the book was so smart, like I felt like it gained 1.5 stars from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was initially going to rate it 3 stars because I thought like, yeah, I was bored, but I was also intrigued at the same time. But how everything ended and then how I like just thought about it, it's like this was really good. Like plot wise, this was very good. So that's why I gave it 3.5. But like, yeah, I did not vibe with the writing style. It was the same with her other series as well, the Dream Blood duology. It was, yeah, I didn't like it at all. But at least this one had a good enough plot, whereas that one, for me, didn't. It was just a very mediocre plot. But everything was so interesting.
I'm adding Dream Blood duology to my TBR because I liked this writing style so much.
No, go for it. I like that duology is very interesting because again, like with this one, the magic system is so unique and the world is very unique. And I think you'll like it. For me, the magic system wasn't defined enough. It was very like wishy-washy. And for me, like I didn't like that. I need like definition of like what's the magic system is. Instead of like, oh yeah, you can also do this, but then also do this, you know?
Yeah.
Also, yeah, I saw a couple other comments here, window grab too. So Tammy was saying Dreamblood's super different for Broken Earth, but I do think you'll like it. I also think I have at least the first book, so I'm definitely gonna head into that one. And Tammy was also saying this book started the obsession with second person POV. I was interested, Christine, because you said you read other second person POV books, and I don't feel like I've seen a lot of other ones.
I just read one. I was trying to remember as I was talking about it. I literally just read one, and I was like, what was that book? I cannot remember to save my life. But I will.
I was surprised I thought, like, at least from the way everybody talked about this book, I thought the whole entire book was in second person. So I was surprised when we got to a different perspective and it was like, then this person did this thing. And I was like, oh, okay. All right. So only sometimes we do the second person.
That would be really hard to do a whole book as second person.
Yeah. And I think, like, I agree with what you were saying, Vish, about, like, I usually don't jive with things that are sort of like, maybe it's second person or maybe it's like the omniscient thing, but it's sort of just like a know-it-all kind of a thing where it's like some of the things that started in this book were kind of like, you do these things, this will be important later, but it's not important that you know why now. And I was like, just tell me why, like I want to know. And every time a book does something like that, it usually rubs me the wrong way, where I'm just like, you're withholding information. I know you're withholding information, but not in a fun way. Can you just tell me the things you want to know? I feel like you're just being an asshole. Can you just tell me, please? But I feel like with this book, like it was doing that a little bit, but it also kind of like, I don't know, it almost like reined itself in where it was like, I'm not telling you yet. I will tell you when it's time. And like, you know, then it sort of like stopped doing a lot of the whole like, I'm holding this over you, you can't have it yet, I'm taller than you, you can't. It was like, it kind of just like chilled with that and then just told the rest of the story. So I was like, okay, it's fine. And it did come up later and I was like, okay, all right, you fulfilled your promise, it's fine. But I totally agree with you about like that sort of a vibe that sometimes the writing can have. And I think maybe it's been so long, but when I read The City We Became, I feel like there might have been some elements in there, but that was the book that I had read that I didn't enjoy as much from N.K. Jemisin because it was really different writing, but it was also like very different, like magic, plot, everything. Like the thing I really loved about this was also like that world building. Maybe I didn't like fully understand all the magic and I couldn't really explain it to you today, but in terms of building out the world where they're like, oh, there's just like obelisks floating in the sky from ancient civilizations that didn't make it, therefore not important. And I was like, what do you mean? And they were just like, yeah, if the civilization didn't survive till today, everything they've ever contributed to society, useless. We don't care. And I was like, what an interesting philosophy of life. And they just have like all of these old ancient things from many, many past civilizations that have obviously been wiped out by the different seasons. And they're just like, yep, we don't care about those people. We care about the present. We care about whatever's happening now. We have all of our civilizations that are formed with like, I forget the name of that guy, but it was like the guy who manned the gate at Essen's like original town, and they had like all of their own like political structures and everything in there where it's like don't get it twisted. There's still like politics, there's still like all of the like sort of hierarchies, if you will, that like cyanite and alabaster belong to, with like being a 10 ring or a 4 ring and all that stuff. And I loved all of that kind of like world building that existed in it, but there was still like sort of the unknown and the mystery of it, which I think in this case, for this kind of story, probably contributed to it becoming what it is, because if you knew everything out of the gate, I think it also would have given it away.
Yeah.
Also, maybe Kat said, I listened to it on audio when I was driving. I hope the other drivers enjoyed seeing my reactions. A lot of screaming, a lot of what? Yeah, I did that too. I was reading some of it physical, and I read a lot of it on my drive down to Long Beach Island, which was like a couple hour drive, like down and up, and it was a pretty good companion for the ride. Yeah, threw me off a bit, but I picked up on it after a while. I felt kind of the same way. Cool. Should we get into more spoilery type of stuff? Spoilers?
Yeah,
okay.
I think so.
I'll say this is the point of the show. If you have not read the book, you might want to leave us, but join our Discord so you can talk with us about it. Other than that, we're going to get into spoilery stuff. Do we want to talk about plot? Do we want to talk about characters? They're sort of related to each other.
I mean, we'll just like go dive right in. Like, let's just talk about the elephant in the room. You know what I mean?
All right, let's go.
Like the biggest.
Is it the plot of the characters? It's the both. It's the same thing.
Yeah, I was like, what do you think is the biggest plot twist or reveal of this, or book reveal, I guess, of this whole book?
I mean,
everyone is the same person.
Yeah.
It's the same all along.
Yes. That was like
that was crazy. Yeah.
It's so crazy because when I was reading it, I was like, two of these people are the same. I was so convinced. And then I was like, who's the third person? Who's the third person? It's the same person.
Yeah, I did the same exact thing. I did literally the same exact thing where I was like, the real Demaya was the cyanite we made along the way. But who's Essen?
Right.
Essen was inside us all along, because Essen was Demaya and cyanite was there from the beginning. Like,
right. And it's just like them in different
stages of life.
Yeah. And it's like, I think the reason why, like, the easiest one was obviously Demaya's young. So you're like, why are we following a child? Like, obviously that's somebody, you know what I mean? But like, for her to be cyanite and also Essen, and to have this whole entire life, like, she's had multiple lives in this whole book. Like, she went through some shit, y'all. She went through some shit. I was like, no, she didn't. No, she didn't. So I was amazed. I was just having a great time.
I also appreciate the way that like it happened was that we found out Demaya was cyanite first. And I was like, oh.
And then I was like, okay.
And then like it makes sense because it's like the young becomes the middle, and then way near the end was like the middle is also the older version. And I was like, it's also a linear like story. It is also what linearly happens in chronological order as well, on top of everything else.
Like her whole entire life, basically.
And then you also find out like who the other characters are too, that like the young boy that Essen was traveling with from pretty early in the book, and how like that was the Stone Eater that was also the same Stone Eater from like the end of the stuff with Alabaster and Cyanite
The
as well, like, on
island.
the island and the boat and stuff.
Okay, refresh me on the end of that, because I know that stuff starts going to crap, but like what happens with the Stone Eater again? Do they take her? Did she kill her child?
Yes.
So
she does.
Okay.
sort of, yeah. She doesn't kill just her child.
She kills
But
Alabaster too?
Kind of everybody dies. So
I was like, I can't remember the very end because I just have read it so long ago.
I think Vish, you might have read this the most recently out of all of us, but what I remember was near the end, Cyanite and Alabaster's child is now like 3 or 4, like, you know, like pretty young, but not like a baby exactly anymore. And they're sort of raising the baby along with, forget his name, but there was like the third guy that they were
Captain, my fave.
Captain, my captain, that guy.
Oh man, he was a great character.
Yeah, he was awesome. I loved him. And they were all like
my favorite part of the book when they were in the threesome. That was the only part of the book I liked.
That's also
like, you and me.
Like, it was such good polyamorous.
I was like, can I just stay here? Can this be the happy ending? I'm over it. But I like
the romance in this. Yeah, that's what I'm invested in.
It was so, and it was like pirates. I was like, hello.
I know. Oh my god, I was all about it. Antimony.
That's the Stone Eater that takes Alabaster.
Yeah.
I don't remember his name. I would have to double check. I'm holding this microphone.
Inon. There it is.
What was it? Oh, Inon. Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. Inon. So, the 3 of them are raising the baby together. I think on like a pirate ship or something, because they're just traveling around. They're like, we don't want to stay in one place.
It's on the island, really.
Yeah, it's on the island that they live. Yeah. I think Alabaster and Cyanite just like go back to the mainland to like check it out, and they don't realize they're being watched, and then the Guardians find them on the island and like come in on a pirate ship, and then they have this big battle, and Essen is like, or not Essen, Cyanite is like, well, I'd rather just kill my child instead of him being subjected to being one of those people in the system power thing majigs. I forget what they're called.
So yeah, those were the worst.
Yeah. And Alabaster is like destroyed.
Yeah, so
he
like
got taken by the Stone Eater via the rock.
Yeah, because like there was a rock and he was basically like sliding into the rock. So it's like his body was being almost like consumed by the rock at the same time until like there was basically nothing left of him at all. But he was saying like, you know, don't let them take our baby, because the baby would just be subjected to like the same things, going back into the system, pretty much become like a slave of the Guardians. And so I think Inon was killed by the Guardians, like I forgot his name, but it was like the guy who was like
the evil guy, like the worst one,
mentor at the very beginning, and then was like, I'm gonna and he was like, I'm gonna break your hands to teach you a lesson, but this is good for you. And that was when I was like, okay, this guy's like evil, right? Because like, what the fuck?
Shafa,
maybe a chat with all the names. Thank you so much, Shafa. Thank you so much. You should be on this live show. Shafa killed Inon and then was coming with the baby, or like coming to get the baby, and that was when like basically just that was what caused like the 5th season was just like destroying everything, even though it would have caused like extreme mass destruction of absolutely everything. There was no way to control and keep it centered on just this one area and just kill one person, because there were just too many terrible things happening all at once. And everybody died, it seemed like. But then I guess as Essen, later she received a missive that was like I haven't forgotten about what happened or something. And then like Alabaster was actually still alive and he was being nursed sort of back to health, but like part of his body was still stone. And then there was a Stone Eater woman next to him, which I think is the woman from the very, very beginning, who was looking out over the city. And she was like eating his arm or something and like looking at Essen, and I was like, okay.
I know. That whole thing, I was like,
how people even like authors even come up with shit like this is beyond me.
Yeah.
I'm like, how did you think of this?
So we have lots of like things to unpack with every little thing that we just talked about. Like, first of all, who are the Stone Eaters?
Who's the alien boy that just busted out of a crystal?
Yeah, crashed down.
He's eating rocks and dirt and shit, and he's loving it. He's loving it.
Yum yum.
Eating it right up. Alabaster was on his deathbed. Yeah. The Stone Eaters, I think, are like aliens. Like
Yeah.
they would be.
Yeah.
Or they're like they're from the moon. They're from somewhere. They're from some stone place. But the thing is that they all, like, we found out on the island that there are Stone Eaters that like are living in the earth, right? And like people just don't see them. They come out when they want to come out. And they're really powerful. They have like all this power. So that's a whole nother thing that hopefully gets unpacked in the next 2 books. Like that was one of the most interesting things, because I'm like, they're just down there like living like mole people. Who knows what they're doing underneath.
And there was like that one big one that like this huge stone eater guy that was like living underwater, and they were just like, oh, this basically this god is dead.
Yeah.
And like, yep, just deal
And
with
you're
it. And I'm
like,
like, okay, but why? Like, what killed her? Like, what happened? When? What? Wait.
like the obelisk situation, is that what you're talking about? That one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the ocean where
Yeah.
like they were there and they were called to take care of the coral reefs and everything, and then Alabaster was sick because someone tried to kill him. You know how that is. So Cyanite was like, let me go look at this myself. And that was when she was like, okay,
There's a lot of power here.
Some other stuff going on at the same time.
Yeah, so there's the Stone Eaters that we have 0 answers about. The obelisk, which are like all the little things that are just like floating in the air. They're like slowly, I know you guys noticed this, but like as they were doing that whole coral reef scene where they were fixing it, the obelisk were coming closer to them, right? And she like noticed that, but she was like, oh, they're probably just on a
like
joyride.
Basically following her, right?
Yeah, that's what I think. I think the obelisk have something to do with power and energy and just kind of like that sort of thing. That's as much as like I could get from it at this point. But yeah, so there's that, and then also, you know, the Guardians, and kind of like the fact that she's still alive, Alabaster's still alive. What does that mean? You know what I mean, for them? Especially after having lost so much.
And he's also like, have you ever heard of this thing called the moon?
Yeah.
Which is like, I guess that's not a normal thing that people know about. So
yeah, is this even set on Earth?
I mean, this I don't think is. I don't think it's this. Like, I think it's a whole different
planet.
Yeah, it's like
it's the Broken Earth trilogy, but is it like Earth, or is it like the Broken Ground?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think it was like Broken Ground, because I don't think this is. I would laugh my ass off if they were like, "Yes, this is America in 5 years."
Welcome to America.
Yeah, welcome to America. So,
do the obelisks hold?
Oh, right, because of that scene where she saw someone.
They're like all in the obelisk. I think they're just asleep. Like, I think it's like a cryo sleep. So, like, when we're talking about the aliens or whatever, like them being aliens, I think it's something like that, but it's not necessarily how we would think of cryo sleep. I think it's more of like energy based or something like that. Either that or like they are powering the obelisks themselves. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So those are my theories. Okay, do with that what you will.
Capsule or something.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe they're waiting for the 5th season to take out everybody, and then they could swoop in.
Yeah, I would imagine they're just asleep and not dead. But who knows? It said once that the people in this world don't look at the sky because they're watching for the ground to move.
Yeah.
So they didn't notice the stars or moons or other planets.
Yeah.
That's whack to never look up.
They're always looking down.
I feel like it would totally change your posture. Like, you'd hunch all the time. Like, you'd always, like, look this way. So you wouldn't even look people in the eye because you might look at the sky. Like, oh, Can't look up there.
It's true though.
I see a
The way
moon.
that the Earth moves
It's crazy.
in that book.
It's not set on Earth. Confirmed. Kind of sad.
It
They
is.
agree.
But that's like the whole entire book. Like not to like get into like themes and stuff like that, but
The
it's
theme
like
is kind of sad.
yeah,
Yeah.
the theme is sadness. But this world has gone through so much every season, like every 5th season. And they lose information, they lose history every time. And that's said really early on. Like that's like something you notice, right? And so all the history that they have, you don't even know if this is like correct. You don't even know like where they really come from. Like you have kind of like this lore that they all have been taught, but it's all based on like what the guardians have told them. And we know the guardians aren't good because they're sucking the life out of like kids, you know what I mean? So you know, that is a whole problem in and of itself. Like it's the whole theme of like whoever writes history is the person who wins the war or the person
Yeah.
who like conquers.
Whoever has the most power gets to write the stories.
Right. And so this obviously power is like a huge theme in this book. You know, not just in the fact that the guardians are in power, but also the fact that like Alabaster has like so many rings and Essen slash Cyanide slash yeah is one of the most powerful people as well. So like their kid was already doing stuff at age 3, you know what I mean? Like it's just so insane. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, what about her daughter?
Yeah.
Yeah, we still don't know. It's like, what would she be capable of, or what?
I wish that she would have at least found her husband, because that one just wasn't answered at all in this first book.
That's got to be a second book.
Yeah. I feel like that might be the whole thing, though, like the big chase to go get him, because it's less of a like just get her daughter back thing, and it's more of just like end it once and for all and like just get rid of this guy.
Also, who is that guy?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he can't be someone who was born and raised in that town. There's no way. Because somebody born and raised there would never leave like that. They would stay with what they know. So that guy, I'm like betting money that her husband is not who she thinks he is. Like I'm betting money they have been watching her this whole time and they found her and they planted him and then he took away the kid.
You might be right. But then why would he kill the son?
It could be a number of things. It could be like they don't want him to be so powerful. Maybe he was like tested, but he wasn't testing like well. Like he wasn't testing the right way. Like he was almost like uncontrollable. Like maybe the little girl is like more malleable.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Interesting. I think you might be onto something for sure. Like I don't think it's anything would be as simple as we think it's going to be.
Yeah, he's just scared and running. It's like she wants us to think that he is like taking her out of spite or like whatever. And maybe he kind of is. Who knows? Like I might be wrong. But I really don't think that he's just like some dumb country boy, you know?
Yeah.
It's more up his sleeve. It'll be sadder if it isn't, and it's just a total act of like passion and violence. And it's like he was just a guy who did a lot of bad stuff for really bad reasons that aren't even like the big conspiracy. He's just a bad person.
Yeah.
That'll be honestly
well, the most interesting villains are the ones who aren't like that, right? So like he's not just bad, but like he would be interesting if he like
if he
did
had like
for a reason,
a larger purpose type of a thing.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So instead of just being like a guardian's henchman, because like anybody can do that, guy.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying, but I understand what Christine was saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll find out, guys.
Also, hello.
We'll find out. Hey, Natasha.
I think someone said that some of the stones that had recorded information from past civilizations were most likely on purpose.
Yeah.
were destroyed on purpose. Yeah.
Yeah, because
almost-
remember, someone was saying about, have you read Tablet 7 or whatever? And she's like, that doesn't exist. And they're like, yeah, of course it does.
Yeah, you think 1 through 6 exist and then 8 through 10 exist, but 7 doesn't? Come on, girl, use your brain. Come on.
They destroyed the number 7.
They just forgot 7. They just
Yeah.
forgot it.
Just don't have that.
Yeah. This is also really interesting because this
Yeah.
quote, so like it goes back to like, why are they sucking children dry in those little like weird setups, right? I forget what they're called, but like, why are they using kids? You know what I mean? Like, why was her son so powerful? It's almost like, you know, not to bring up Twilight, but I'm gonna do it. You know, in Twilight, when like you first become a vampire and you're like super strong, you're like super strong, super fast, you're like uncontrollable. It's like giving that kind of energy to me almost.
Except for Bella, who's not like other girls.
Okay, well, we won't talk about characters, okay? Just the magic system. There you go.
Just the vampire magic system.
Yeah, just the vampire magic system. So
Yeah, it might be one of those things where it's like, you know, when you're a kid, you're not empowered by everybody, but you're a little bit empowered in the way that like you haven't been told no about everything yet. So you kind of do have the whole like, I can kind of still do anything, or at least I have belief of like changing the world for the better, and like I'm gonna be the reason that things improve, and like it's less of a just like this is the way the world is, kid, like you just kind of got to deal with it. And I wonder if any of that has connection with the magic for everyone, because if you're so extremely strong as a child, like for somebody, I guess like Demaya, it's not like it really necessarily went away, but it's also that like these special schools try to like hone that ability and shape it and make it useful for them instead of letting it necessarily like turn into whatever it is. And their reasons for that are like, well, you can't have unchecked power because what if you cause destruction and like kill everybody around you? And that was the whole like thing that, what's his face? I'm gonna scroll back up. Shafa was like, I'm gonna break your fingers to teach you a lesson. Don't kill me. And I'm gonna try to like hurt you really bad, and you're gonna try to kill me. And it was supposed to be like a powerful lesson for her to be like, oh, I do need to get better and get stronger. But so much of that was like violent teaching rather than anything to actually like hone ability and be safe with it.
Yeah, it's really interesting to me because I'm almost like, if you didn't break the kids when they're younger, like if you kind of just like let them, I don't know, not like go crazy and like kill everybody, but you know what I mean? Like if you had taught them in a different way, like would society change? You know what I mean? Like the Guardians wouldn't have control. That's like their whole thing. They want control and power.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting to me. I like believe this up until a certain point though, because I'm like, is that what the Guardians told Alabaster? Like, what if they were just so powerful that they, you know what I mean?
Well, and they're probably so powerful that they're threatening the Guardians' control of power.
Yeah. That's what I'm kind of getting at. Like if anybody threatens their power, they're going to take them away. Because once they find origin, you guys know what I'm saying. Yeah, once they find them, they go and collect them. You know what I mean? Like nobody gets away.
Yeah.
And then if you're too strong, you know, you go into one of those machines. So it's just kind of like, I don't know. No one's like asking questions how I would be asking questions. So, but that's called a story. That's called a book. So I can accept that. Oh.
It's also called survival, probably in this case, because it's a pretty brutal world.
Yeah, true.
I don't think anybody asking questions can stick around too long.
Don't.
Guardians in power.
They get murdered.
Yeah.
They get murdered.
I mean, also, even just the existence of, like, how Cyanite was powerful in her own way, but when she met Alabaster, she was like, my job is to get pregnant. I've done this a few times before, and this is my whole bit, so let's do that. And he was like, no, I don't want to. Like, it's fine. You can go home. And she was like, no, I'm going to lose my job, and what do you think's going to happen to me then? We better hurry up, like, have sex, have a baby, whatever. We'll get through it. It's fine. Just do it. Like, and it was just like, it was a very like strict, like unfeeling kind of a thing, because it was really just like born and bred to be useful to the society, all the way down to literal breeding for the society of like, make more, just make more. That way we have more power. And like that's exactly what they ended up like doing by having children. And then the Guardians are like, great, you fulfilled the thing you were supposed to do. We're here to go get that.
Yeah.
And like the fact that that structure exists in the first place, and everyone's like, we get why, like, you know, you guys are traveling together to like accompany him, like he's the powerful one, and then like you're here, you can do some stuff, but like we're here for the 10 ring, and like he's the one who's actually powerful. And so it's also a question of like, is it possible for her to have risen in the ranks if she wasn't like a woman who was forced to like basically be like a breeder in her position? And would she have become like a, you know, a 7 ring, an 8 ring, a 10 ring much faster, other than like, you know, when Alabaster was like, here's like some rings, sort of like, you know, they're not official, I guess, but like, you know, you're powerful enough, like you should be like stronger, and like you should have more to show that. And she was like, I don't really want to wear it because of the Guardians like influence, like going to those schools, and I know what that is, but eventually it sort of does still have meaning to her, and I feel like there is still some level of complexity there. So I feel like it's sort of like the depth of character there as well, because it is more complex than just shunning that part of yourself and saying like, well, we've escaped from Guardians who are chasing us, so this no longer means anything to me, and just saying like, well, I was raised with this my whole entire life, and I kind of have to unpack why this still matters to me, and I'm still going to wear these rings to some degree. Like it still has meaning, even though it's obviously like a messed up structure.
Yeah.
It's totally a part of that that's sort of inescapable to a degree.
Yeah, I see that as her just like taking that power and being like, you wouldn't give me these,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna take them for myself. But yeah.
And it's like ascribing your own meaning to something that in a way is like a little meaningless to you, but you can sort of derive your own empowerment from it, I think.
Mhm.
But while still also like looking at it and being like, I'm sad that I have to do this, but also I feel some amount of empowerment from it. And I feel like that's what makes her a more complex character. Like there are certain levels where, like, you know, at certain times in the book I didn't feel 100% connected to all the characters, but at other times when there were more of those complex moments, I think mostly they happen in Cyanite's POV. A lot of them are just sort of the like, you know, I'm an adult woman. I think she was in her like late 20s, early 30s or something as Cyanite. So a lot of it is like past the period of initial 20s, sort of like, you know, I understand like life and discovery and whatever, but also it's just like, oh, it's time to unpack trauma and continue to deal with it while also like being in the midst of sort of like being disrespected, but also having like a duty to fulfill and wanting to kind of escape from the structure, but not feeling that I really can, and then dealing with all those complex emotions. So I feel like, you know, during that period of time, while you still are asking yourself questions about the world and what it is, there was also a lot also for her herself that I haven't really seen in a lot of other books, to not just address those sort of questions that you might have in those moments of life, but also just letting her not have answers to them and just be like a living person that's just like, I don't know what to do with this, but I do know that I'm experiencing these weird different emotions and I have kind of no one to talk to about them. But here I am, and here we go. And like that happened like 5 times, and I was like, I appreciate you. Like out of the 3, I feel like I really connected a lot with Cyanite because she got to be like extremely vulnerable in those moments.
She needed some help. They all needed some help.
It was also like, because the way Cyanite felt towards her son versus Essen with her children now is like totally different.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like with Cyanite, she was forced to have that baby. And yes, she did say that she does love her son, but she wanted more out of life and she wanted to do her own thing as well. But then obviously we have a shift with Essen, who's much older, and she's had her babies
Mhm.
and felt more emotion towards them. And like, where's that shift? You know what I mean? Is it because that she wasn't forced to have her babies that time? Is that why?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it's that. It's also like the circumstance, because I was like fully expecting, even though there was like a very huge age gap and it was kind of like the we don't like each other thing, that eventually Cyanide and Alabaster would be like, actually, we love each other. And this would be like a romance sort of in the middle of things. And it just never was that way, where they were both like, you're cool, I guess. You're basically like the person who knows me best in the world, and I guess you're my friend or whatever. And
Yeah.
I guess you're the mother / father of my child, but that's it. You
They were very
understand?
I don't know.
He's
I
just
think
my
that
baby daddy. That's it.
I don't think they romantically loved each other, but I definitely think they loved each other.
Yeah.
They did love each other.
Yes.
Yes.
And they're going to be there for each other in the next one,
Yes.
okay?
They better.
I think if he's still
Yeah,
alive.
it was almost
I
like-
can't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
But
definitely.
yeah, they were more romantically in love, like sexually too, with Enon.
Yeah.
And I still
Yeah.
maintain to this day, until the day I die, that Alabaster was a gay man.
Oh,
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah,
and he just never. That's why he was like, "Oh, we don't have to do this."
Yeah, I just don't think they like said it in so many words, but I definitely think he was. And then I think that they, with the polyamorous relationship, were able to love each other in that unit.
Yes, in
I
that.
think he
Just
described
not sexually,
something that he loved.
still as family, still as partners.
Yes.
I thought there was a guy that Alabaster loved that he told Cyanide about right before she went to Inon to be like, hey, Alabaster likes you. And then Inon kissed Cyanide, but also was like, cool, I'm going to go hang out with Alabaster now. Like right before that scene when he was like, yeah, I like him. Is that like a problem or like whatever it is? Then wasn't he also explaining like a long time ago there was somebody and I really loved him, but
he had the love of his life.
It didn't work out.
It didn't work out.
Didn't. So I mean,
killed him too.
Yep. I think they did. I think they like really brutally killed him for very bad, like no reasons, basically. So it's just like every single character, even I mean, obviously a lot of the characters are the same character, but like every character is so traumatized, and I feel so bad for everybody.
Like we said, the theme is sadness.
Sad book.
And pain.
Yeah, for sure. I was looking at our little discussion sheet. Somebody we haven't talked about at all is Tonki.
I thought that reveal was interesting too.
Yeah.
That was so good.
That was very good.
I was screaming.
Mm-hmm.
Screaming.
Yeah. I liked her character as well.
Me freaking too.
Crazy scientist lady.
Yeah. Just like popping up, doing some science stuff. I'm like, hello? What are you doing, you little weirdo, little screwball? What's going on?
I remember that there was a reveal, but I forget who Beanoff is.
She was like that girl that just randomly showed up at the academy.
Yeah.
And roped Demaya into like helping her find that weird
like
thing.
secret room. Yeah, where which we find out that's where obelisks are made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, she was the one who was like kind of the rich girl who was like, I'm just here.
Yeah, and then she like got kicked out, and Demaya never heard from her again.
Yeah.
And didn't recognize her, although Tonki recognized her.
Okay, I do remember this. I remember that there was a plot twist, and it's been so long for me since I've remembered anything about a book, but I remember now. Yes.
I think it's just the sheer amount of plot twists in this book for me.
Yeah.
Like usually there's like one good one, but I feel like in this one there were so many.
Yeah, just the way that everything connected was really smart and really interesting.
Yeah. The fact that she hits you with the same plot twist twice, where you're like, it was her? Wait, it was her? Like, you do it twice, and you're like, I can't believe I didn't
know that.
I kind of saw, like, Demaya being cyanide just because of, like you said, with the linear timeline. I'm like, oh, yeah, this must go this way. But I didn't expect cyanide to go towards Essen. But after I finished, I kept thinking, like, there was a few foreshadowing moments in Cyanide's perspective, because sometimes I notice that it would change to a second person, just like one sentence. I'm like, what is this doing here? Why is it changing to a second person? And then now I realize
I didn't
it's
notice that.
because it's like very like one or two small sentences spread out, but like I notice it because I don't really like the second perspective, so I just like, what is this doing here?
Oh my god, now I have to reread the whole book. So I
Yeah,
can
I was like, well, looks like I'm
my
doing a
God.
reread. Look at that.
Oh, that was a good yawn, Shermie.
I know he
Aw.
like put his paw out because he like wanted to knock something over, and I was like, Sherman, and he was like, and I'm like, now is not the time. Yeah, we're talking about you.
That exact look.
Yes.
I'd kill for Sherman, honestly.
Honestly, me too.
Love his character.
So sidekick best friend, you know.
Oh, good.
Oh, another one.
So encourage him, Jess.
He's so cute. Hi, Sherman.
Just
I
looking
miss
back.
you.
Right here.
Look at your green eyes. So pretty.
I know.
He's like, am I asleep right now?
It's like he's just a black blob with green
I know.
eyes because of the camera.
Yeah.
See, that's why I don't have an Instagram, because I'd look like a black blob.
Oh. My favorite black blob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You hear that? You're her favorite. His face right now, y'all. I wish you could actually see it. Like, it's so funny. He's like squinting his eyes a little bit. I'm like, why are you giving me this stink face? Anyway, yeah. Tonki. Great character. Great character.
Yeah, it's great. I also loved how like this book does very well with like just putting in queer characters sort of like seamlessly. I mean, like Tonki is sort of like, I guess, a little bit of a reveal where you're like, oh, Tonki's trans, and later on you're like, oh, Alabaster is also queer, and like you kind of like see some of these different things in the different characters. But I feel like, you know, it's one of those things where the world is built in such a way where like none of that is necessarily like the main problem of the thing, like the way that
it
our
wasn't
current
like a
world
big
is.
deal.
Yeah,
Like it's just sort of like a normal thing where everyone's just like, yep, this is the way it is. And I'm like, I appreciate that in a world where like there's lots of sad, bad things going on, this isn't one of them.
Yeah.
But, like people can just exist as queer people, and that's
Yeah.
totally fine. And the problem is just like having superpowers and stuff.
Which
And I'm
I
like,
kind of think like is interesting because to me the whole entire book is like a social and political commentary about climate change and racism and the way we treat people.
I 100%
It's interesting that the queerness was not like a thing, but I guess like race isn't really either. It's just the parallel between like the origins and
Yeah, because I mean, there's even like a lot of the language. I forget what the name that they gave in the book was, but like I think it's a very clear parallel also for race because there's even
the term
things going to
raga,
basically.
I think too. Is
Yeah.
like really makes it like blatant to me. But
Yeah, 100%. Where like from the beginning when you're like, oh, why would it be like if you have superpowers, it's a bad thing, and they like explicitly make that clear, and then all of the parallels throughout the book as far as like very poor treatment and like different like working in servitude for like these guardians and going to these schools and being drained of power and being forced to like kind of like keep the society running in the sense by like continuing to fuel the guardians while also just like being expected to work in service to them as these like 4 rings and these 10 rings and whatever, when really like they're the most powerful people that there actually are.
Yeah.
And like seeing them have to like sort of like run and escape in Cyanite and Alabaster's case of like, let's just go underground and like disappear for everything and like never be found, is like something of a parallel in that sense. But like you were saying, like having explicit words where like a raga was clearly supposed to be like the N word, and it's like this is all like very very clear for I think it was, oh my gosh, I forgot her name. It starts with a D. Demaya. Like for Demaya as a kid, where she's like, I've never heard this word before that isn't used like in a really derogatory way, and everyone like slings this word around at me, but I can always tell like it's bad, and it like shocked her to hear other people say it. And then eventually, like throughout the rest of the book, you start to hear it, and there's like people who sort of like reclaim the word, other people who throw it around without a second thought, and it's clearly like in a derogatory sense, but they just don't think twice about it. And I think all of that also again speaks to that, but it is also kind of like it's clearly like a sad and bad thing, but it is also kind of a cool thing to be like, this is a magic that belongs to the people who are like oppressed because of their magic. It's not like, you know, linked to their oppression, but it's the people who are actually like being put down that are actually the most powerful out of everybody, and that like actually have the power to change the world. And thus far we've seen it be like, you know, they're breaking the world, but there's also a lot of ways that I'm sure it could be like used for good. Like Christine was saying earlier, if like you had your power and it was allowed to flourish and not be tamped down and be used by these societies, what could it actually become? So I feel like just creating something like that in a book and like crafting it so skillfully into what it is, at least, you know, for a book that I really enjoyed, I was really impressed with that kind of concept, making it to the page and feeling like that was, like, you know, again, like another part of the journey that the characters all go on, because as Demaya like transitions into cyanite and you kind of like make that realization over time, and I'm sure maybe it's a little bit more explicit if you reread it knowing that plot twist, you see that like more and more of that, I guess like attrition to her power and like attrition to the way that like people talk with her has changed because she's just like a more adult woman who understands the world a little bit better. And then you're also still seeing like, you know, the questions and mysteries that we have about the plot at the same time. So you're seeing her like progress into an older woman who has just experienced more hardship, and then seeing her kind of like unpack that and be vulnerable about it, as we also are just, you know, still also experiencing like the plot of a fantasy book all at once. It just feels like there's like 5 things that are all happening at the same time, but are all done, at least in my opinion, like pretty skillfully.
Mhm.
But I like them all
I
simultaneously.
can definitely see why the whole trilogy has won awards, for sure. It's very smart. There's a lot of elements to it, like we said. So I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
It's very smart.
It is a good plot. It's a good plot. Yeah. I'm looking at
Also,
our
hear me out on my theory about the moon, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't the moon control like the waves
The
and like
tides.
the tides, and
Yeah.
also like earthquakes, like seismology? Like, doesn't it also control that as well?
It could in this world.
I know. That's why maybe he's like, have you heard of the moon? Yeah, we have.
We're all like, I mean, yeah, but like, what's your moon? You know,
Yeah.
like, what does that mean to you? Lots to muse about.
Mm.
What do we think is going to happen in the next book?
God knows what would happen. No idea.
Well,
Well,
we get some new characters.
speaking of just like some of the questions that were also in Jess's document, there was, during the story, Alabaster proclaims a desire to wipe the slate clean and start the world all over. Do you think the current society was irredeemable, or was Alabaster's anger clouding his judgment? I wonder if the whole thing with the moon is going to be like this controls everything, so we can use this to like shape the world into something that's like more beneficial for Erogeny, or if it's just like, you know, a way to wipe things clean and like start over. And I wonder if that actually means like get rid of everybody and just start from like a genetic like little single-celled organism all over again, and see like people with power like rise to power or something, because there's already been so many apocalypses, and people are controlling the information, and at this point in time it is sort of like an active resistance to even exist as a free Erogeny, and that existence might be just so unbearable for him that he might have those kinds of predilections that maybe we'll see in book 2 if he survives his deathbed, if he survives the lady munching on his arm.
Yeah, I was like, we'll see what happens to him. I mean, either he's gonna, you know, come in and not have some limbs, or he's gonna die. But if he survives, I would not be surprised if he ends up being a villain of the story.
I mean,
think
I think he
Alabaster's
will.
gonna be the villain.
Then they have to fall in love, right?
Theory. Yeah, I have a theory
He's-
that he is.
Yeah.
He's my
Just
favorite
because
character.
I know, but that's the thing. It's like that's why, because the best villains are literally people,
Yeah.
and they have all this crap.
I mean, honestly, I
Yeah.
wouldn't blame him if he became the villain.
Huh?
I wouldn't blame him if he became the villain, honestly.
Well, and it seems like it would
He's had
be
so much shit done to him.
yeah, like it would be up her alley too, as far as like plot writing, just because it's like you love Alabaster as a character, you know what I mean? And like
Yeah.
you understand where he's coming from if he does become like a villain. And
Yeah.
then it also raises the question of what Rachel was just saying, like, should you just completely wipe out society, or is like something worth saving? Because at this point Alabaster wants to kill everybody, but like what would our girl think about? Like Isun, she would think about Tonki, and she would think about the other little guy,
Loa.
and she would think about her daughter, and she would be like, those people are the people worth saving. So like, yeah, we can't clear the earth or like do whatever. So like that, I think that would be an interesting story. I don't know if that's where this goes at all, but like
Yeah.
those are the kind of things that I
Yeah.
was thinking about for like the rest of this trilogy.
Maybe that's why people with the orogeny power are gathering at that one spot. That's why, Hoa was leading all of them there. So like
Right.
where everyone dies in the end of the world, but at least the people in power who are supposed to be in power can still rise up when everyone's gone.
And then also like when 5th season happens, like all the Stone Eaters probably survive, right? Because they're underground.
Yeah.
So then I'm
Where they
like,
can be stoned, so like they're going to be fine one way or another. So
yeah.
Mhm.
So just
I would be so surprised, and yet it would fit so well if Alabaster or like Hoa and like all of them kind of like in a way were like reshaping the world and became more like anti-hero villainish in a way. And I think
it'd
like
be crazy if they actually become like the Guardians, trying to not become like the Guardians.
Oh, that's
Like
cool.
that is like the
Yes,
biggest
yeah.
plot twist I think that I could ever call for the series.
Yeah, and then the end of the book would be just like the
It
cycle
starts-
is repeating itself.
Yes,
It's over
starting
again.
over. Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I would be so mad. I'd be
I
pissed.
would be living my best life. I'd be like,
Be
5
the
stars
Jade
for
Legacy all
everything.
over again. DNF this shit. Get it
Jess
away.
would be like 2.5 stars, but also I DNF'd.
Oh man, I can't wait. I can't wait to find out.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm so
wait.
glad.
What do we think? Okay, this book obviously was called The 5th Season, and we get it because it's about the 5th season that
Mhm.
just happened.
Mhm.
Yes.
Why is it called Obelisk Gate?
It's that thing where obelisks were made. I think
Yeah.
that's what we're gonna
the
focus on.
fulcrum, right? We're gonna go
It's
to the
going to
fulcrum.
be
Yeah.
going back to the fulcrum and use it like
What's the
Oh,
third
I
book
thought that place was destroyed, or is it not?
was it?
Because of
Was it
that's where
destroyed?
the
Wait, I
that's
think
where the
you're right.
earthquake originated from.
Maybe they find another one.
the earthquake originated in that town from the very beginning of the book.
I thought it was like Fulcrum, where Alabaster was.
Yeah,
thought that's
now
what
that you say
originated.
that, I feel like I remember that. And I feel like somebody like saying that it got destroyed. Like, didn't Tonki say it got destroyed or something?
Yeah.
She's the one that told.
Wasn't it Eumenes that was? Well, I don't know if that's where it started, but Eumenes was like totally destroyed.
I thought
during-
Eumenes was like the city, and then Fulcrum was inside
Yeah.
Eumenes.
Yeah,
or
so it
something
might have
like that.
been in there.
Something like that.
I think that. Yeah, actually, I do think that was the center of the destruction.
Hmm.
Eumenes, like the town, and that was in like the very, very beginning where we were seeing the things where like he was like, "Do it" at the window, and then everything got destroyed. Ooh, it's the gate to the moon.
Yeah, we got to figure out the moon thing.
Is
Yeah.
it a coincidence that alabaster is the color of the moon? I'm just saying.
Really?
I don't know. All I'm saying is the third book's also called The Stone Sky. So
That could
are we
be
talking
the
about
moon.
underground, or
Is that the moon?
what are we speaking about here?
Hmm.
What are we speaking about?
It
I don't
could
know. I'm
be the
excited though.
Yeah. Like I'm still excited because the plot is so interesting, but like it's gonna be such a slog to get through the writing style. But I still want to know.
I'm interested to see if she still does second person.
That's true.
I wonder, yeah, at this point with the reveal, would they just not?
Right?
Mm.
Like, that was the whole thing. What are you
Oh my
reading?
god. Okay, well, I just read the back of the book, so...
Don't spoil it. Don't you
Okay,
dare.
Sign the back, Christine.
Huh?
It's the back of the book. How's
That
that
doesn't mean anything.
don't read it.
Yeah,
Don't
that's
read
a
it.
good one. Maybe a cat.
Okay, wait, I don't actually know if that means anything. It might just be like... It might just be talking about the end of the first book, to be honest. But it sounds like something else, at least. I don't know.
I gotta start this book.
Interesting.
I gotta start it.
Jokes on all of us. This actually takes place on the moon.
I was
Yeah.
just thinking that.
And that's the rock.
They're gonna make the sky stone, and it's all gonna fall down, and then it'll just be one solid thing, and that'll be the moon. That's it. Solved. Done. Plot twist over.
That's
Hit
right.
me, N.K. Jemisin. I'm ready. Next book is gonna rock.
That's right. I know that's right.
Very
Mhm.
excited. Well, I think we are gonna do reading sprints before this book discussion, because as I mentioned at the beginning of the live stream, we're doing 2-month reading periods. So this one was like later, but this July month still counts as a month to be reading The Obelisk Gate. So hopefully other people are reading it. Steph is here. Hello, Steph. Just saying, hey, this was a 5 out of 5 mind-blown favorite read of all time. Kissy
There you
face.
go.
Love it. Oh, has anyone's rating changed by the end of the show?
Now, if anything, I feel like I'm more hyped than I was.
Yeah, I'm more
feel-
hyped, but my rating's still the same.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe I'm less hype.
This is like, after consideration, my 2.5 is going down to a 1.
I won't do that, but
But
in my heart, it's a one.
We'll see. We'll see.
the quietest voice, it's a 1. It's a
We'll see.
1
Wait,
for me.
Jess, is it because of the writing style that it like wasn't enjoyable at all?
No, I'm just a very like character-driven reader, and I didn't
I
like
see.
any of the characters.
Yeah.
I think maybe it was partially the writing style. I thought it was a slog to get through.
Mhm.
There's really not a lot of plot, in my opinion. The plot twist was good, but I don't know. I just
The world.
didn't connect to it. Didn't really
That's
care
fair.
about it. Needed a romance. Need a character I like, and
That's
so,
fair.
yeah.
Also, I
I
feel
might-
like Isun is like crazy as she is. I feel like she's kind of a very unlikable character because she's just
Yeah.
so like jaded, you know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I didn't feel like we really spent enough time with Demaya to like her.
Right.
I think Cyanite was definitely my favorite perspective to read from.
I
Mhm.
think we
Yeah.
got the most of Cyanite out of everybody.
Yeah, I kind of feel
Yeah.
like that too.
Yeah.
But still, like, she's kind of hard to like as well because she kills her child.
Well,
It's hard. Like, they were hard. They're the hardest ones out here in the game. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like,
Mhm.
no one can say anything about them because they're out here doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
They're out here doing the work. So that's how
they're
I
doing
know.
the work of killing her child?
Huh?
They're doing the work of killing her child?
Yeah. That's how hard she is. I'm talking like hardcore. She's gonna find her daughter, y'all. Don't you worry. She's gonna find that man
What
and
if her
kill him.
daughter was her
What if her
own?
daughter that did it
Did what?
killed the son, like killed her brother? What if the daughter did it and then
That is a
the
really
husband just
good
took her away?
prediction.
Wait, no. Wait. She said in the beginning, Essence saw her husband do it.
Oh, okay.
No, she didn't. No, she didn't. Like, she thinks that her husband did it because she saw like the marks.
Blood, right?
Yeah.
Didn't
Well,
she,
and he
like,
was abusive to
see-
her, right?
No.
Yeah.
She
thought
didn't
it
say
was,
that. She
no?
just said that
Oh.
she was
thought
just
it was.
interpreting that maybe when her husband found out about like the son,
Yeah.
that's when he bit.
Wait
But I
a
felt like
minute
he
now.
wasn't a good person or he
Something
something.
like yeah.
Like, I thought she had more reason to suspect.
He might. That might be it.
I don't know. But maybe you're right. So
That might
it's
be it,
could still
bitch.
be.
I think it was a dream when she saw him get
Yeah.
beat up.
Mm.
Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay,
Yeah, she was
'cause
just
said, like,
imagining
this
it
isn't how it
ahead.
happened.
Oh, then
Yeah.
that means it's definitely not true. Whatever she thought, it's the opposite of that. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever Jimson gave us is not true. I'm not
Don't
kidding.
trust this author.
That's what it is.
Do not trust.
Don't
There's
trust
no
it.
way. It has to be the daughter then. The daughter's the killer. Duh.
The daughter is the killer. The daughter is also
It's
Essen,
solved.
and also we're on the moon.
Crazy if she was like super jealous or something because she didn't have powers and that's why she killed the brother.
Oof.
I have not read the whole series.
I'm so
I've only
afraid.
read the first one. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I've been
No.
sitting here guessing about the plot the whole time.
Also, this is the only way anyone can hear me, but thank you.
The struggle.
The struggle. Are we set on all of our predictions, our final thoughts?
I think so. I mean, we all talked about our favorite parts already, so
we're good. All right. Well, Obelisk Gate, we're gonna, as I mentioned, do some reading sprints to be announced at some period of time with as many of the Fantaseries folks as we can. So I would keep an eye on the Discord because we announce everything over there before it happens, so you know about it. And then we're gonna discuss Obelisk Gate after everybody's read it. I think probably early September, if we can, since we'll be taking this with the 2-month thing. So all the rest of July and then all of next month, August, and then we'll chat about it afterwards. So that's our plan. If you haven't yet joined the Discord or followed everybody on the Fantaseries Book Club host roster, please go check out the description. Everybody's down there, as well as the link to the Discord. Anybody have any last minute plugs or thoughts or anything before we say goodbye?
Questions, comments, concerns, or poetry. Now's the time. Jess,
Now's the time.
spoken
Post
word.
your haikus in the chat. Last chance. That's it.
Not a poet.
Didn't know it. Okay, cool. All right, we're going. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for coming. Thanks for chatting with us, and we'll see you on the Discord and next time. Bye.